In Game 3, General Eisenbart did indeed strike back with Orion and his Wood Elves rushing down Blankverde's clan Scryer Skaven. The swift cavalry and dryads of the Wood Elves executed some excellent disruptive charges, while the mass and mobility of the Skaven was caught out in a position far away from the main body of the army. General Eisenbart's Wood Elves quickly rolled the Skaven over, with a rare good performance from Wild Riders. It's not something you see every day. Now let's go and jump to a critical game for can General Eisenbart continue the comeback? Confusingly, we've now switched perspectives and are watching from General Eisenbart's perspective, and Blankverde decided to go with the Wood Elves. So we've got Warriors of Chaos here versus the Wood Elves. Archaon, the Ever-Chosen, leading the way with 2 units of Chaos Knights, the sword and board version. Got some Marauders up front, and in the low ground here, some Marauder Horse Masters and Poison Warhounds. Yep, more Horse Masters up here, already doing some great initial skirmishing with the Sisters of Twilight, who are going to respond with some shooting attacks and breath attacks. Shooting coming from those Glade Guards as well. We've got some Hagbane tips here, some War Dancers, Dryads, and Eternal Guards. The War Dancers are an interesting choice. I like them in certain matchups. I don't know if I love them in this matchup specifically, but we'll see. We've also got some more Eternal Guards out to the flanks here. Looks like some Wild Riders also on the low ground. Wild Riders, as I maybe mentioned in the intro, don't typically get that great a value. They're in a very weird place right now where they get out-traded by pretty much all heavy cavalry in the game. That certainly does include these high-tier Chaos Knights. So they're going to struggle to find good targets. And again, the War Dancers, rather, is an interesting one. Kind of a DPS anti-infantry unit. More meant against unarmored infantry, right? So I think Warriors of Chaos might potentially bring some armored infantry here, but I guess that's what the Sisters of Twilight are for, although they're certainly taking some damage here, skirmishing with the Javelins, taking some Spirit Leeches, Earthbloods in response to heal them back up. But yeah, there's nothing initially based on the deployment to protect against these Chaos Knights. The Eternal Guards have very low mass. They're just going to get bullied here. The Chaos Knights can cycle charge in individual places, pull those Eternal Guards out of position, get into the squishier backline units of the Wood Elves. But General Eisenbart doing a great job of not keeping those Chaos Knights in combat for long at all. Just pretty much immediately pulls away. They're now going to allow the Marauders to get into the fight. War Dancers will certainly excel in a situation like this, but their charge order is a little bit awkward. They kind of get interrupted and don't actually charge the unit that they were maybe intending to. As a result, they're not going to get as much benefit, but a nice side charge from those Wild Riders there does land. Should take care of those Marauders in a big hurry. Things are looking a little grim for Archaon out on his left flank, but certainly on the right, pressuring now with the Doggos. Marauders also trading decently well in Dryads. Archaon himself getting ready to deploy. We have a double envelopment here. Some Poison Warhounds coming and trading extremely cost-effectively against Wild Riders. And that's the main downside of Wild Riders. They just take damage so easily from so many targets that oftentimes they're much too squishy to work in practice. But we'll see. Certainly a lot of poison missiles coming out. The scatter shot for the Sisters of Twilight also deals poison missile damage, so between them and the Hagbane tips should be able to debuff the Warriors of Chaos significantly. And the Knights in the center are even broken in one case, one of those units going down there. But Archaon is an absolute Chad and will fight until the bitter end here. He's also got a brutal burning head just ripping apart one unit of War Dancers there. Sisters of Twilight respond with a swift Dragon's Breath straight into the Knights. Does some decent damage, nothing too crazy. But right now, the Chaos units are going to have to press their mobility advantage in order to take out some isolated targets, like these Wild Riders get caught out here by the Hounds and by the Knights. Oh, those Knights are so much bigger than the Wild Riders. Almost ridiculous. Absolutely terrifying. They're going to do a good job here of just massacring the unit, or at least tying them down. Yeah, they've got most of the models tied down. We'll see. A lot of the Javelins are being focused very efficiently, and from the Wood Elves' perspective, the pressure in the backline here, these Hounds going after Blade Guards, is not allowing them to shoot at the Horse Masters. It would be the best sort of recourse for the Wood Elves here, best response, if you will, to try and just shoot the Horse Masters with these Blade Guards, but some great Hound harass in the backline. just stellar mobility play in general so far. Archaon now getting tied up in some treekins. He will dispatch them eventually. Might take some time, though. But the Sisters of Twilight are definitely in trouble. That mass of javelins has just been absolutely trolling them. A little bit of Awakening of the Wood here to try and deal some damage to the Horse Masters, but they are just absolutely savaging. Even with the healing proc now set to go off as soon as this timer runs out, Sisters of Twilight will get another big burst of healing, but I'm not sure. I mean, at this point, what really in the Wood Elves build can kill Archaon? I think the Sisters would have needed to preserve their HP and try and get some support infantry in the late game. Be cycle charge with some of these Eternal Guards or other units, but right now, Archaon is looking almost insurmountable, and the Chaos Knights also are starting to become a huge problem. The more of these Eternal Guards continue to take damage, they're not that elite of a unit to begin with. Really, you would want something like War Dancers with spears to take on these Chaos Knights. But alas, there are none on the field. There's no Dwellers below either, which would have been a great response for magic-wise. Instead, we've got this Awakening of the Wood, which is fine, but it, again, doesn't deal armor-piercing damage. Similar problem to the dual sword War Dancers. Like, I just don't see the role necessarily in this particular build. But let's see. Archaon's going to go to bully the Spellsinger regardless. Make it a moot point. Nice Spirit Leech there on the Sisters. I can't imagine they've got a whole lot left in the tank. Their heals bugged? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But we'll have to check back on that. I don't think it actually healed them at all, which is unfortunate. But Archaon, we've just fully juiced up here. 104 charge bonus, even just with the Frenzy and with the Paragon of Ruin. 104 charge bonus. Absolutely ridiculous. 80 melee attack, flaming magic damage, of course. Will he be able to carry this on his own, though? The Wood Elves are resilient. They have Elven leadership, of course. The Dryads also decent DPS, and these Chaos Knights have just been slowly getting dragged down over time, as they themselves don't have much in the way of support. A lot of these Marauders are kind of scattered to the hills. Hounds coming back in is important, but at the same time, Hounds have also needed to dedicate quite a bit of time and resources chasing routing units, which is important, but yeah, it takes time away from the other parts of the battle. Sisters of Twilight did indeed get that healing proc. It's not quite heal cap them, but certainly enough to keep the balance of power somewhat stabilized. And at this point, Archaon's definitely severe danger, but if you could block him perhaps with the Treekin somehow and then use the Sisters to come in and terror out these Warhounds. The Warhounds are really causing a lot of problems, much more so than their cost would suggest. And getting them with a quick tear route would be an easy way to see them off the field. I mean, I guess the anti-infantry scatter shot would also deal damage to them, but Hound's leadership is so bad that if you exploit that effect, get rid of them, it's the way to clear them out. Instead, though, the Wood Elves are struggling to do so, just now routing this unit here. But Knights also operating. Marauders at this point can come in and act as more of a cleanup unit, with a lot of these Wood Elf units just being too tattered to really stand up. And again, more Hounds coming in. Horse Masters trundling around in the back there, cutting out those War Dancers. Looking pretty good. As it is, Archaon's not going to be taking too much damage from these Treekin, although they do bypass his physical resistance. They have okay weapon strength, only 26 AP. So, I mean, Archaon's relatively safe, still above half HP. Here, the Sisters of Twilight drop down finally to get a quick tear route. Something they probably should have been doing, again, a lot earlier on in the battle. Drop some of those Marauders, especially drop the Poison Warhounds, like in the back line of the Wood Elves to try and save some of those Glade Guards, because they're all dead at this point. And the Hounds are still very much alive. Yeah, again, the Wild Riders, too, I think cost efficiency wise, it's almost always better to just max out on Blade Riders first. They have less cost and more presence in the fact that you can take more of them, right? You're able to screen a cheap unit like Hounds better with Blade Riders than with Wild Riders. Let's see. The Sisters are persistent. Going to continue fighting on, and perhaps like I said, with this anti-large support infantry in the late game, you get them trapped in with these treekins, cycle charge with the Sisters of Twilight, but the fact that Archaon still has Spirit Leech and a really nice Searing Doom as well to keep in his back pocket to just bail him out of that situation, basically destroy that Eternal Guard, and make it so that situation seems less grim. Another almost healthy unit of Eternal Guards coming in here. We'll see. It's going to be a tight finish, maybe tighter than I had initially anticipated, but another healing proc there on the Sisters of Twilight does bring them up to their heal cap. So all in now. General Eisenbart, can Archaon stand? It's a quick hit and run attack. I almost think the Sisters maybe should have stayed for a couple of attack animations, but smartly getting away before they do take any damage there. Archaon, though, depending on Winds of Magic situation, might have enough for one more quick Searing Doom. Yep, looks like indeed he does. And that is going to significantly damage all those Wood Elf units. Also kind of bails him out of the Treekin. Can utilize his mass to try and get away from these Eternal Guards if he needs to. He is taking significant damage, though. If Archaon goes down, it's all going to fall apart very, very quickly. But just in time, some Clutch Marauder Horsemasters come in. They're going to get some skirmish work done on the Sisters, who really should be charging Archaon with the Eternal Guards right now all together, rather than trying to take on these Horsemasters, because you open yourself up to this, which is getting countercharged by Archaon on the ground. Oh no, he hits his charge speed, gets a swift thrust in the hindquarters. That dragon there. The Marauders, of course, can also be used to lock the Sister of Twilight on the ground. Archaon gets his Armor of Warcar proc, give him 84 melee defense, and that's going to be it for the Sisters of Twilight. So a very close finish. Ends up being, it definitely could have gone either way, but a little bit of an error there to fight away from the Eternal Guards. They're just now going to come out, but too late. Sisters of Twilight are felled. Horsemen and Archaon can just immediately then charge in, pull back, and rinse repeat until they're out of ammunition. So at this point, it's pretty much over for the Wood Elves. We'll fast forward as they try to make their final stand, but yeah, army loss is quickly closing in. So there you go. We are going to a Game 5 now, so stay tuned for that. That should be coming tomorrow. General Eisenbart now forcing a Game 5 in this BBB tournament. Beautiful stuff. I'd love to see me some excellent Chaos mobility play that doesn't involve Elves Striders. It's all Knights and, yes, Horsemasters, but still, you know, they're more expensive than they were before, so they're not as crazy cost-effective, but still very cost-effective. And actually, the Knights, one of them does pay for themselves as well, which I love to see as a cavalry enjoyer. Archaon's a beast. People kind of sleep on him, I think, sometimes. Maybe not. I mean, Be'lakor has sort of dominated the spotlight for a long time with Warriors of Chaos in terms of board selection, but don't sleep on Archaon. He will definitely pummel you in the face for that. Yeah, and then for the Wood Elf side here, Sister of Twilight definitely gets some good value back. I just think the width was a tiny bit lacking here. Literally just changing out these Wild Riders for Glade Riders might have been enough. Change that. It's hard to say. I do like the one pick of the Treekin. The two War Dancers is also probably picks I would also change out for just Dryads. Give, again, more volume of units. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of this format. We've got one more replay from this series to go to, so there won't be any recaps, just straight to the action. Stay tuned for that. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.